Thank you very much, and congratulations on being here today for what I think is the biggest single campaign for the future of education in the last 20 years. Can I begin by stating the obvious? Politicians are weird people. We have a Premier, I think Nathan Rees, who says he's opposed to league tables. We have an Education Minister, Verity Firth, who agrees with him and agrees that they're actually bad things. We even have a Federal Education Minister, Julia Gillard, who does not want to see simplistic league tables. Of course, she hasn't defined what she means by simplistic, and it's hard to imagine a non-simplistic league table. We even have all of the state and federal education ministers in their June 2009 Principles and Protocols document saying that they will put in place strategies to manage the risk that third parties may seek to produce simplistic tables and comparisons. Well, we took them at their word, and we did that. And of course, all hell broke loose. But it's not just politicians who are saying that simplistic league tables are bad. Education experts like Ken Boston, the former Director General of Education in New South Wales and South Australia and the former head of the UK Curriculum Authority, blamed simplistic, and he's very popular in this room I'm sure, blamed simplistic league tables for the decline in employability skills amongst HSC, or amongst school leavers in the United Kingdom. He blamed the high-stakes testing for taking away the oxygen out of the curriculum and out of the classrooms of the primary schools of the United Kingdom. Brian Caldwell, a quite conservative education academic, usually speaks in soft tones. He called on all of us for agitation on an epic scale against simplistic league tables. But most importantly, it's teachers, it's school leaders, it's parents and it's students who are saying with a united voice that they do not want school league tables. In fact, the debate on school league tables has been marked by an almost complete absence of support. You're very hard pushed to find an educationalist or an education academic with any credibility whatsoever who supports the publication of simplistic league tables. So why on earth are we having this debate? Well, it's driven by Julia Gillard's passion for publishing data on websites. She wants to take all of the average data for school performance in common testing results. She wants to publish it with rich contextual data, sounds like a vitamin pill to me, along with some mini league tables on her website. And then she says, oh, that's okay, because we've got the rich contextual data there, everything will be all right. It's a hand-washing exercise that makes Pontius Pilate look like he has a personal hygiene problem. They are saying guns don't kill people, people kill people. They're saying we didn't produce league tables, it was the media that produced the league tables. They are taking no responsibility for the inevitable. And the inevitable is put the data out there, the media will harvest that data, and when they harvest that data, they will create simplistic league tables. So why is she doing it? Where's her passion coming from? Well, Julia gives us three reasons. First, she says accountability. She says the community needs to know what's going on in schools. What utter nonsense! How can you possibly reduce the complex transformation of babies into adults, of children into full citizens, of people into complete and total critics of society with an understanding of the complexity of themselves and their fellow human beings and the society we live in? How can you reduce the alchemy that is schools down to one number, or even down to a table of numbers? You know what schools do. They create self-confident and self-knowing individuals who are able to critique and understand and appreciate their fellow citizens in the society they're going to live in. Reducing that down to a table of numbers is accountability on the cheap, and it belittles education and it belittles the profession of politics. Her second excuse is it's going to help schools. Tell me, a politician so utterly hopeless that they need to name and shame schools and therefore by implication themselves to have any progress on helping those schools that are struggling? Actually, don't answer that question. If she and if all of us are so committed to helping schools that are struggling, then let's get on and do the task, and we know what needs to be done. And if we want to know what schools are struggling, don't look at the numbers, do the obvious thing. Talk to teachers, talk to school leaders, talk to students, understand what's really going on in schools, and where there's a need for help, supply that help. But don't supply name and shame, don't supply stigmatisation. The third excuse is it's going to inform parents about schools, the so-called choice agenda. This isn't information, it's simply misleading. The NAPLAN test, which is the heart of the data that's going onto the ACARA website, was not designed to rank students, let alone rank schools. You're better off using a random number generator and putting that on a website than using the NAPLAN results. But the reality here is that this is not Julia Gillard's invention. This is a nasty import that goes along with the rabbit and the cane toad as something we did not need in Australia. Imported from a school district in the United States, the New York School District, from a New York school chancellor who spent even less time in a school than I did, who's become the pin-up boy of the smart set of marketeers who are slowly taking over education policy in the United Kingdom and the United States. And their credo is if you can't measure it, it's not worth doing. And their agenda is a commodification of education, turning schooling from a public good into a private outcome that can be traded on a competitive market, setting schools against schools, setting teachers against teachers, and along the way destroying teacher unionism. That's not an agenda that anybody in this room will tolerate. It's not an agenda that the Greens will tolerate. It's not an agenda that teachers, principals, school leaders, parents or students will tolerate in Australia. And I'm pleased to say it's an agenda that the Coalition would not tolerate and that Gordon Moyes did not tolerate. As it turns out, on the day when it became important in Parliament, neither did the Shooters Party nor Fred Nile. We don't tolerate it because we owe it to those gutsy students from the 1997 class of Mount Druitt High School who would not tolerate not only the slandering of them and their achievement and their teachers and their achievement, but the slandering of public education and the slandering of education, and who stood up and sued the Daily Telegraph and won. We owe it to them to make sure that it never happens again in New South Wales, that a class is put on the chopping block in the name of selling more newspapers. We owe it to every student in New South Wales, and we took that obligation and we turned it into legislation. Unfortunately, as Adrian said, we weren't able to ban the publication of simplistic league tables on the internet or on electronic media. And that's the challenge ahead of us. Not just to stop Nathan Rees from taking away the amendment moved by the Greens and supported by every politician in this room, every politician on the table in this room, not just stopping that, but much more. Taking the agenda in New South Wales, and we proudly are the leaders in protecting education, in protecting schools from stigmatisation, in protecting education in every school. We are the leaders in this state, and we have an obligation to take that leadership to other states, to put pressure onto other states. When we got that legislation through, that amendment through, we had 22 days of hell from the media. It was longer than Utegate and much more interesting than Utegate, I must say. But we will continue to oppose league tables, and we will work with all of you not just to maintain the ban, but to extend to all media across the entire country. This is our opportunity to say no to league tables, but it's much more. It's our opportunity to define the future of education. Is the future of education to be about schooling that turns students, the magic of schooling, the work of students, the commitment of teachers, the hard work of school leaders, the love and patience of parents into a marketable commodity? Is the future of education to be that commodity traded on a market with winners and losers? Are schools to be turned against each other? Are teachers to be turned against each other? Or will we regain that future? Will we recapture it for us collectively, for our students, for our children and for our grandchildren? Will we be able to create a future where we create self-confident and self-aware and wise and caring citizens who face the challenge with self-confidence? Will we create a more equal society and a future that values education, not just things which can be traded in a market? For all of us, The challenge of building that future is our privilege to work together. Thank you very much indeed.